The movie starts on a magic vid. He was born super fast, and his name is Sonic. The bad guys were greedy for his superpower. That's why he was living a secluded childhood, and he was living with his nanny Long. And Long, she asks him what happens this fast on the island, so that no one of the bad guys see you. Sonic told her, don't worry, no one saw me, but laughing they arrived at his house and they were shooting him with arrows, and Long takes Sonic and runs away with him, but she hits with an arrow, so she bit Tech, you will not be able to escape more than this, and give him a bag and magic rings and tell him these rings can make you travel anywhere you want, and open a gate for him to buy. And Sonic has to listen to her words, and she stands up and sacrifices herself for Sonic. And Sonic, he spends many years on Earth alone, and he was entertaining his time spying on humans, and among the people he was spying on was the officer Tom. Tom was very bored because his city has no crime, and he wished to go to another city that has more crimes to work. And Sonic keeps passing in front of him, and Betso didn't understand what the thing was who passes in front of him this fast. And Sonic after that catches the turtle and runs with it so fast that the turtle gets shocked and returns to the bakery, and he spends his time alone and plays ping pong with himself and looks at the bag of rings and the map that he took from the Long. And at night he spies on the officer Tom and his wife Maddie while they are watching a movie, and he keeps watching with them, and then he walks because he feels lonely. And the next day in the morning he watches a group of kids playing baseball, and she liked this game very much, and he is more happy when he sees the players celebrating together. So Sonic comes to the stadium at night and plays baseball alone and takes advantage of his super speed and plays alone, and he was throwing the ball for himself and playing and cheating on him, playing with other people and also celebrating with the audience. But then he gets very annoyed and keeps running around the stadium at a crazy speed. And because of this speed, a magnetic field was born and cut the electricity to the city of Green Hills completely, and the army leaders gather to talk about the reason for the electricity cut. But none of them understood the reason for the electricity cut, and the army commander understood that the topic has to do with technology. So he uses the help of a crazy scientist called Robotnik, and the army officials were rejecting this decision and telling him this is a crazy person. The leader said, but it is a very smart world and has many certificates, and we don't have another solution, and after that the world will reach a Robotnik and Apple. The army colonel Ben, and I am in charge here, and he takes out his drones and gives them an order to do a complete survey of the forest, and really the drone enters the forest, and Bela is a trace of 2 legs. Sonic and a Nick robot analyzes the trace of the legs and knows that these are not the legs of an animal, and says these are the legs of a creature not from the ground, and he passes by sending army soldiers to the jungle with airplanes. And Sonic, when he sees them looking for him, he worries a lot and shows that the Earth is no longer safe. Why? So he goes down to the laboratory to collect his things and use a ring from the rings he has, and he goes to another planet, but he finds that the soldiers are approaching him. So he decides to go to another place and get to the garage of Officer Tom because I think it's safer here. About it, Officer Tom hears him, and it remains that an animal entered the garage. So he took the anesthesia gun and went to the garage, and Sonic was just going to open the world gate again, but Tom enters on him and acts Sonic in front of him, and they hit him with the anesthesia gun. And Sonic, before he faints, he sees the name of San Francisco on Tom's t-shirt, so he opens the gate for San Francisco, and worse than that, his bag of rings falls there, and Tom takes Sonic and put in a cage and make up with my friend. They understand that he needed a safe place and tell him, I was spying on you a lot, you and your wife. And then they find that. A robotic car arrived. Nick was walking behind the tracks of 2 legs Sonic, and Sonic is afraid and asks Tom for help, and Sonic feels sorry for Tom and agreed to help him, and he hides in the floor above and asks him to be calm. And a robot Nick that delivers Tom's house and lies to him and tells him, I am from the electricity company and I want to enter your house and make sure that the electricity is working well, but Tom refuses to let him in and tell him the electricity meter is outside the house. So why do you want to enter the house itself? Robotic not he knows how to reply to him, but Best invited the drones and let them enter to search Tom's house, and Sonic was afraid that the drone rays would come to him. So he hid it in the middle of the ball as if it was a ball. Like them, but he realized, and he gets out of his place making noise at home, and a robot that fucks outside hears this noise. So he entered the house with wellness, but he only finds a pet in the house, but Robotic remains suspicious, and Bella has a hair from Sonic head and threatens Tom with drone weapons and tells him, talk and tell me where is his place or I will kill you. Faison is afraid for Tom and gets out. Waldron was going to kill Sonic and Tom, but they hide from him, and After that, Sonic and Tom were able to get rid of the drone, and they escaped from Robotnik and got in the car and moved. While they were on the way, Sonic says, "I need to return my rings because about. It's way I can move from now on the roof of a building in San Francisco. I want you to take me there." But Tom says, "I saved you like you asked me before, and I got into trouble. Because of you, I can't help you anymore. So you go to San Francisco alone." Sonic gets annoyed with him and gets out of the car and jumps away, but he comes back again and tells him, "I can't go there alone, Fatum." He has to ride it to give him a ride, and at night they get to a place because Tom wants to talk on the phone, and Sonic passes by without moving from his place, and then he goes to the phone booth, but as usual Sonic doesn't listen to what I'm saying and sees a party held in the place. He decided to go and watch his colleague in the name of the police, and they ask about the situation in the city. So the condition says to him, "There are people who came and asked about you and suspected that you are a terrorist and you have bombs, weapons," and a Robotnik takes the phone from him and talks to Tom and tells him that no one can challenge me and I have never lost in a war against anyone, and I promise you that I will find you. And she is twins. He closes the way in his face and he says that Sonic is not in the car, and he understands that he entered the place and when he enters he finds him sitting disguised and telling him we must leave immediately, but Sonic asks him to set a little, because there are many things I wish to do on the ground before I go. Fatum agrees. And he says you have only one. They spend a good time in the place dancing and playing, and when they sit to drink something there is a person who comes to bully in the form of Sonic, because he thinks he is a little kid, and Sonic doesn't like this situation and keeps provoking him. The man hit Tom and collided with the person at the bar, and all the people in the place started to hit each other and fight, and Sonic runs at a crazy speed to the extent that he sees the people in front of him moving slowly, and Pink Tom is one of the people who were going to beat them up, and Tom is completely away from the fog, and after that he sits and annoys people and makes traps for them, and when they move and what happens and what hits in the glass, and one day he finds all the people. He fell to the ground and he runs away from people, and then they go to the hotel to sleep in it, but Tom sees on the news that he has become wanted for justice and he became a terrorist in the eyes of the state, and the next day in the morning Robotnik knows that Sonic and Tom were in this bar and stops at a hotel, and after a while he gets on the road and looks for them, and really at the same time Sonic and Tom were on the road, and Robotnik takes out a tank on the road behind them, and you can reach to Tom's car, and his spear overlooks the car, and Sonic gets out of the car and jumps to the side of the tank and flips while he stops after that celebrating. And he rides again with Tom. Tank a small car and flew, and small bombs overlook them, but Sonic runs and takes the bombs and bev on this car, but the car is not completely destroyed and a motorcycle comes out of it, and Tom can get rid of the motorcycle and destroy, but a small machine comes out of it, and the roof of the car is teared completely, and Sonic holds this machine and unwinds, but it turns out that inside it is a bomb, so stand in the forest so that Sonic gets rid of the bomb, but it was stuck in the hands of Sonic, and Sonic is fate. He gets rid of her, but he didn't have time to run away in time, and exploded next to him, and Sonic fainted, and Tom worries about him very much, and they read with him to his wife Maddie because she used to work as a batter in a blanket so that no one sees him, but rich sister Maddie doesn't accept to enter Tom because he is wanted for arrest, and the dog keeps barking at Sonic and pulls the cover off it, and Sonic appears. Fritch faints when she sees him, while Robotnik so his hair gets Sonic head and makes an experiment on it and studies its power and writes that its power is unlimited, so he decided to add this hair power to his new bitter so that it becomes fast like Sonic. And we get back to Tom and Maddie as she says to her husband, "I have never met a creature like this before, so I don't know now." And Jojo is Maddie's sister. You notice that Sonic's shoes are cut, and Maddie reaches a solution and smells Sonic. From something that smells, wakes up and keeps running in the apartment, and Maddie varies and talks to Tom in private and asks him for an explanation about this creature, and Tom understands everything and tells her, "I promised him that I will give him to San Francisco," and Maddie destroys and agrees, and Jojo gives Sonic a new shoe, and Sonic is very happy with it because it is the first gift he takes in his life, and after that they take Sonic to San Francisco, and he arrives at the building where the rings fell on his roof, and Tom puts Sonic in the bag and enters the building, and he shows the employee that he is a police officer, and he tells her there is a problem on the roof of the building and I have to go up immediately, and the trick is afraid for the employee, and they get out on the roof, and Sonic didn't want to leave because he loved Tom very much, and he says these 2 days were one of the best days in my life, and he thanks that he shortened his life and they thought that the mission was completed successfully and Sonic throws the ring, but suddenly drones appear around him and Dr. Robotnik appears in his new plane and cuts the planes to shoot them, and Sonic threw Tom and Maddie from the top of the building to save them. And when the missiles were fired, Sonic uses his super speed and drives the missiles away. This is about a stroke, and he was going to save and a material, but a robotic plane became fast like him, and he hits Sonic with a rocket and Sonic loses. Awareness for a moment and opens a gate for Tom and Maddie to the city of Green Hills, and Sonic doesn't know how to control his speed, and he looks on the ground, and the Robotnik says to him, an advice for me, don't run because you will be making an effort for nothing. And Sonic doesn't care what he says and collects his rings and runs in the streets of the city, and Nick's robot is chasing him and hitting him with missiles, but Sonic Beth started all his attacks and he was going crazy, and I don't understand how a robot knows how to chase him in this way, and uses the rings and goes to a country a second, but a robotic enters behind him. So he opened another gate at the pyramids, and also a robotic was behind him. With waves, and he said that again, I will stand up to defend my friends, and Nick Beef Robot opened a large number of missiles on him, but Sonic understands all of it and hits his plane more than once and tells him, I will not leave the ground, you are the one who will walk. And Tom goes to open a gate to another world, and Sonic runs fast and believes in him and gets him into the gate, and after that Tom and Sonic say hello to each other, and Sonic was so happy because he has a friend, and things are returning to normal here in the city, and Tom and Maddie is preparing for their new home, and Tom comes to a commander from the army, and they know that all he has to do, and he sat completely, and I give him a reward in return for not talking about him. In the battle that happened to Robotnik and Sonic, they did not exist in the first place, and Tom and Maddie agree and do not mention it all, but in reality Sonic is living with Tom and Maddie, and they made a room for Sonic for him, which is Sonic. He is very happy with him, and thanks for their presence in his life. As for the Robotnik, he reached another planet called Planet Mushroom, and this is a planet that does not have any human beings or creatures, but Robotic had his hair Sonic, and it is 243 days away, and he was still on planet Al Mushroom, but in this period he was able to make a machine using his hair Sonic, and this machine is supposed to return to planet Earth, but his plan is not complete as he planned and is happening. A big energy explosion, and the machine opens a gate to another pane, and strange-looking soldiers come out of it, and they were getting close to a robot, but a Robotnik suddenly wakes up and beef on the traps that he made and destroys them all, and then runs towards the gate, but suddenly a Sonic like Sonic comes out of it named Knuckles, and he sees his hair Sonic with Robotic, and they ask, where did you get this hair from? Robotic, he says, I got it from a blue creature on planet Earth, and I can give you a ride to him easily. And then we move to Seattle State, and we see the police chasing thieves who stole the bank car, and Sonic saw the chase and decided to intervene and go to the car. The bank beats the driver while controlling the car and maneuvering with it to stop the thieves in the trunk of the car, and it is because of what he did the money flew out of the car, and it breaks down when he sees that there are bombs in the car that are about to explode. So he tries to stop the car, but the brakes were not working, so eggs fly throw bombs in the garbage bin because this way no one will be harmed by the explosion, and then he notices that the car will hit the ice cream cart, so he holds a screwdriver and uses his speed and untie the car completely, and in this way he was able to avoid colliding with the ice cream cart and also help the police in arresting the thieves. And after he accomplished home in Green Hills City, and he gets out the feather of his owl long that she was raising, and he remembers his days with her, and she is very bad, and he says, I will make you proud of me, and after that he was going to sleep, but Maddie is afraid for him, and wakes up that he has a fishing trip with Tom's son Kay. He has to go on this trip. While they were hunting Sonic, he sleeps from tiredness and falls in the water, and one day he gets him out quickly because Sonic doesn't know how to swim and tells him, I entered your room yesterday night, and I didn't find you there. And she found you leaving a bear that looks like you and knew that you went to Seattle to fight crime, and show him the news while talking about what happened yesterday. And he says to him, you can't in front of people this way, you are revealing your identity. This is other than causing chaos behind you like the money that flew from the car, and also endangering the lives of people. And Sonic is annoyed by his words, because his dream is to be a superhero. Fatum says you are still young, and you must wait until you grow up a little and become mature, so that you can save the world from crime. At the end of the week, Tom and Maddie were traveling to Hawaii to attend Rachel's wedding, Maddie's sister, and instead of riding the train, they ask Sonic to open a gate for them to take them to Hawaii, and then they shake hands with each other, and Sonic gives Tom a ring that will help him get back to Green Hills, and so Sonic. He He will stay at home and decide to do everything he wished to do at home. On the other side of the city, a gate opens, and a Sonic like being named Tails comes out of it, and he had a device that can know the place of Sonic, and it uses and flies on the place of Sonic. And at night, Sonic was sitting watching TV, and suddenly the light was cut off, and he hears a scary sound coming from outside the house, so he came close to the door and sees the door handle being destroyed, and the door opens and shows Robotnik, and Sonic says to him, "I don't know how you came back, but you made a big mistake to come here." And he beats him and runs to him, but Knuckles appears and hits Sonic. And Fly and then Destroy runs to him very fast, but Knuckles can stop him by his hand, and he catches and tells him, "I'm here to do to you what my ancestors failed in, and to regain the power that was stolen from my tribe." And Sonic didn't understand what he was talking about, and before we eat, he was going to hit Sonic. A police car appears and hits Knuckles, and the one who drove it was Tails and let Sonic ride with it and move fast from them, and Knuckles is chasing him and tell him that she is introducing herself to Sonic and telling him, "It's an honor for me, I'm meeting you, Sonic, and you know Knuckles is the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. He's coming to steal the emerald, and you, Sonic, the only solution to get to a place. The stone." And both thought. Knuckles suddenly stays up late and jumps on the car, and Tail had an idea to get rid of it, and it crashes in the wall, and they were going to fall, but Tails grabs Sonic and flies it away, and Knuckles get out of the car before it was going to explode. And after that, he connects Robotnik, and they see two distant birds, and he calls his assistant, and he passes by to send him his weapons, and really sends him his drones after they developed more. And he sends to Knuckles and tells him, "You mentioned a certain power that was stolen from you. I want to know, what is this power?" Knuckles told him, "This is something that belongs to you. We agreed that I would run away from Mushroom Planet and that you would give me a ride. So we're done." And Nick Robots and telling him, "I will help you reach the emerald power that you want, and you use it to eliminate Sonic." And Knuckles agrees to the alliance, but Sonic. So he took Tails to an officer's house named Wade, and he gets a map. He took it before from long, and it had an emerald symbol. And suddenly the drawing of the stone is lightened, and Hala appears in the shape of a long, and Sonic was happy that he saw her again, and she says, "If you see me now, then I got a problem, and I hope you reach the ground. I chose to get you to the ground for an important reason, because the Earth has the big emerald stone, and through this stone ideas they fall into the wrong hands, the whole universe will be in great danger. I had a responsibility to protect the emerald stone, and now this responsibility will be on you. Walk behind the map, and you will find the stone, and after that long you say goodbye and disappear." And Sonic sell it that he will not disappoint her, and he knows from the map that there is a compass in Siberia, and this compass will lead her to the stone. So Sonic opens a gate to Siberia, and when they get there, they are surprised that the weather is very stormy. So they sell to the nearest restaurant, and they sit and ask for something to eat, and stick to it. "I started watching you since you made a magnetic field in the baseball field, and when I knew that the carrier is coming to you, I decided I had to come to." They are surprised as he replies to a message that Tom sent him, but it appears that not Tom is talking to him. Stone, the assistant of Robotnik. Stone asks Robotnik, "Why are we working with the creature named Knuckles?" Robotic, he said, "As soon as we find Emerald, hunt is special from him, because I expect that this emerald will occupy my greatest inventions." And continue talking with Sonic, and they know how to follow his place, and they know that he is in Siberia, so they decided to go after him there. And then the food, it comes down to Sonic and tell is, unless she says, "This is not the food that I ordered," and she uses the device that she has in translation, but the device translates wrongly and says, "Insults to waiter. And the waiter gets annoyed on Sonic and Tail AZ, and Sonic, he comes out and tells them there is a misunderstanding, and people take off the clothes they are wearing, and he knows that they are not human, and he catches them to throw them in fire, but Tails saves herself and Sonic, and says to the people a word in Russian. It means that she wants to enter a challenge, so people calm down and leave, and if Sonic and Tail, if they win the challenge, they will be able to walk safely, but if they lose, they burned. And Sonic suggests to Tails that they run from here, but they discover that the map with the waiter. So the whites flew to enter the challenge against this person to return the map, and the challenge was a head game, and their opponent. He makes his show and song show, and they can and win, and an opponent is shocked by their performance, and people celebrate. Punic and Tail is, and after that Tails hugs Sonic, because she is happy that she has a friend, And she tells him, when I was young no one used to befriend me because Delhi is strange, and they used to stay away from me, but you too were a stranger because you are the fastest being in the galaxy, but I was a legend, so I thought that the human being is strange, this is a normal thing, and gave me the inspiration to leave my village and come back to help you in your mission. And Sonic gets happy from her words and tells her, I am happy that you are with me. And they sleep here this night, and the next day in the morning they travel through the mountains and arrive to the cave on the map of them, and a tale S translates what is written, and from many centuries some warriors from the tribe of Acta came and combined the 7 emeralds to make a powerful weapon, which is the big emerald stone. And if anyone used this stone, he could defeat an entire army. But the bird tribe, they saw that no one deserved to possess this great power. They explained the stone from the warrior of the tribe of Akin and decided to protect it from the forces of evil, and the stone remained under long protection. And after they heard this story, they advance a little and see a giant door in the shape of Sonic moving forward, and see some symbols and move these symbols as it is written on the map, and suddenly this compass that will reach the emerald stone. But suddenly they see the planes circling around them, and Robotics and Knuckles and Robotnik hits a rocket Sonic, but Sonic takes it and shoots at Knuckles and destroys this plane in a silence, and comes out of the cave, and the tails are unraveled that it flies, and he will take it running, and the drones are chasing Sonic and trying to shoot him, and Sonic throws ice balls at them and can get rid of them, but they were many, and they open the laser on him, and Sonic takes advantage of his high speed, and it passes from the laser very easily. But Knuckles arrives and says Sonic, and Sonic passes by to deliver the onion to him, and Sonic. He refuses, and Peter eats him, and Sonic was going to fall off the hill, and all the rings are falling from him. And he says, Knuckles, you and I met you all evil people, and you don't deserve an emerald stone. And Knuckles, he says, I lost everything because of you. And he tells him that his tribe in the past was chasing Al Long, and the whole tribe was preparing to hunt Long, and Knuckles' father decided not to take Knuckles with them on this mission, and this was the last time Knuckles saw his father, because after that they went to war Long that day that Sonic sent to Earth, and suddenly an electrical device falls. Tails threw it on Knuckles, and Sonic throws the compass to Tails so you can run away with it, but Robotnik appears and steals the compass and hits Tails with a rocket and Tails, because Tails charge him more than the compass, and Knuckles likes that Sonic preferred Tails to the compass, and he believes that the iceberg is collapsing, and Nick's robot runs away with Knuckles, and Sonic pickles Tails and runs away with it, but he didn't know how to run at full speed because he is carrying Tails. On the other side, Maddie's sister Rachel used to get married, and Sonic calls Tom at wedding time and asks him to use the ring he gave him, and opens the gate and saves them, and he understands that he must do so quickly, and who is going to die. Fatum takes out the ring quickly and throws, but nothing happens, and he bears with the groom's ring in Beirut to the groom and asks him to change the rings, but Rachel says for her groom he ignores. Fatum has to hit the groom and takes the ring and opens a gate for Sonic, and Sonic enters on them with an avalanche, and people drown in the snow, and Sonic tells Tom and Maddie that Robotnik came back and tells him quickly all that happened, and tries to wake up Tails, who lost consciousness, but suddenly there is an electrical network thrown at him, and the one who threw it was the groom, because it turns out that he is originally a detective officer. And his friends are the army judge hiding, and their goal from the beginning was to arrest Sonic, and Rachel was in the top of sadness because her groom appeared to be lying to her, and the detectives are arresting Sonic Wells, and Tom, when he intervenes to save him, the officers catch him, and they arrest him, and Matter Sonic is not a danger to the planet. Sonic is helping us, so the army commander told her, because of what happened in San Francisco, a new military unit was formed to protect the planet from aliens, so why are you surprised? And tell him Robotic came back to Earth and Sonic, and tell him they are the only ones who are going to be able to stop him, and the commander informs the device to search for Robotics and arrest him, and Jojo gives the physical Sonic bag which had inside the devices of Tails, and Maddie and Rachel decide to cooperate together, and the permissible takes Sonic and the ones with him, and he loves Som in one of the hotels, and Maddie and Rachel get to the hotel, and Rachel gets a device from Tails' bag, standing outside, and it appears that this device makes an anti-gravity field, and the officer flies away, and it is dismantled. That Maddie enters to break Sonic, and Tom and Rachel go and take revenge on her groom who fooled her, but her groom named Randall regretted what he did to her, and he is Circus, but Maddie loves Tom. Sonic and Tell is, and at the same time Robotnik was able to reach the place of the Emerald Stone using the onion, and it shows light and green symbols in the ground, and the lighting moves to the sea, and a green ray appears to the sky, and an explosion occurs in the water, and a robotic road opens to the place of Emerald, and Sonic sees the green ray in the sky, and Baker goes alone and stop Robot by his friends and tell if she wanted to follow him, but she couldn't because she got very tired. Sonic reaches the edge of the water and begs himself with a big energy, so that he runs on the water very fast, but death was severe, and there was a storm in the sea. Sonic was afraid of the storm, and Bev is conscious, and when he woke up he found himself arriving at the temple, which is in stone, and at the same time Robotnik and Knuckles were escaping from the traps in the place, and Knuckles, he uses his power in the rescue operation, and after that they will be able to reach a maze and a robot that uses a small drone to scan the place and tell them in the right direction either. Sonic, so he preferred to eat and run away from all the traps, and after minutes Robotnik and Knuckles arrived at the stone, and he was moving towards him, and Knuckles was happy that he felt the feast of power of his ancestors, but Robotnik was preparing to betray him and get rid of him. But Petra is hungry when he finds that Sonic entered them, and Sonic says, "Let's eat. If you want the stone, then you must pass by me first," and they both are running towards each other and start fighting. But the hits of the conveyor Zaylee were strong, but Sonic will not give up easily, and he uses his high speed, and they hit with all his might, but all this does not affect Knuckles and completes the fight, and at the same time Robotnik was going to steal the stone, and Sonic is speed up the stone, and Knuckles, when he looks, he knows that Sonic words are true, and says to Robotnik, "We didn't agree on this." Robotic said, "You are too naive to trust Knuckles." He said, "I thought that we are friends." Robotic laughs and fools why I don't like friends. And then he takes the Emerald Stone and gets his strength and chooses, and the temple starts to be destroyed, and Sonic was going to run away, but he sees Knuckles dying, so he goes down the water and removes the rock from him, and he moves, but the problem is that Sonic didn't know how to swim, so Naz goes down to save him, and so the two saved each other, and the relationship between them is improving. Tails will arrive to them by plane. And Sonic offers Knuckles his hand, and Knuckles agrees, and says hello to him. On the other hand, Officer Wade was inside a cafe in Green Hill City, but he discovers that Stone, the assistant of Robotnik, is working inside and helping robotics in his work. Floyd opens the place and arrests him and raises him in his place, but suddenly Robotic moves to the place very easily because he gained the power of mobility from the Emerald Stone and removed the handcuffs from Stone Hand, and Aston says to him the army is surrounding the place outside, and they are there because they want to arrest Robotics, and the commander and Tom and Maddie are arriving, and the robot Nick comes out in front of them while he is flying, and the leader. Robotic passes by. Robotic shows him how strong he is and dismantles the tank easily and destroys and then dismantles airplanes and cars, and because the power of emeralds is to turn ideas into reality, Nick's robot pulls out the parts of airplanes and tanks and looks at them. A giant robot, and the robot Nick was inside the robot, and it is in control of it, and all the people believe what they see in seconds. Later, a plane with Sonic and Tails and Knuckles arrives, and they had no idea how this robot would fight, and Nick's robot hits a lot of rockets at them, but Tails, you can avoid him, and we jump from the plane and run to the robot to hit him, but the hit does not affect him at all. And the robot Nick hits is far away, and the tail is hitting the robot with fire, but the robot destroys the plane with ease, and Sonic returns with the missile that was hit on it, and two legs look at the robot, but also does not affect the robot, and the three of them gather and think about a solution and decide to unite and kill together and take advantage of the intelligence of Tails and the power of Knuckles and the speed of Sonic, but the robot descends on them with a waterfall of drones, and the three destroy the planes as much as they can and put a specific plan, and Sonic disperses Robotic and Tails and Knuckles. They take advantage of the situation and hit him, and everyone is running in a direction, and really the robot is chasing Sonic and Knuckles until they come out. On the robot without him keeps hitting Sonic with a laser beam, and in the end he can leave it and fall off the bridge, and at this time Tails are cut off from the robot and forget themselves for many copies, and you rain Robotic and give a chance to Knuckles to fly and hit him, and the Emerald Stone flies from him, and therefore Robotic loses its power, and the robot falls to the ground, and Sonic wakes up and sees the stone fell in front of him, but Robotnik turns the robot on backup power and advances towards the stone, and Sonic was struggling to reach the stone, and the robot was going to step on Sonic, but Tom and Maddie pass at the right time and move, and the robot hits the ground and flies their car, and the three of them go out. including Solom and Sam to defeat Robotnik, but suddenly the stone opens and turns into the original 7 stones, and the robot makes a ring of fire on them, and Sonic asks them to walk so that they are safe, but they tell him we will not move from our place because we are a family, and the robot was going to trample it with its foot, but the stones are determined to get inside Sonic, and its color will turn yellow, and remove the robot's leg, and it will gain great power, and it flies and destroys the robot's head easily, and says to him, "You are Robotnik, your matter is over," and the Robotnik, after he found out that he lost, he tries to sympathize with Sonic, and tells him, "Come open a page. Come open a page." New, but it appears that his hand the robot, but Sonic stops his hand very easily and then flies and chooses the robot and destroys completely, and the Robotnik is spreading on it and shaking for the second time, and Sonic after that uses the emerald power to get something he was thinking about, which is a hot dog sandwich, and he takes the stones out from inside him, and returns to his natural shape, and Tom and Maddie hugs him and tells him, "Why did you give up the stones? You are with him, you will be the strongest being in the universe." So he says to her, "Because I have to grow up more." The first one is Tom said, and Knuckles combines the 7 stones together and comes back in the emerald again and says, "I spent my whole life looking for the stone, but I don't know what." Sonic suggests to them that we form a team, the 3 of us, and protect the universe from any dangers, and protect the power of emeralds and beef. The 3 of them are like this, and say Z and Tail. AZ joins a family, and they play baseball together, and then they go eat ice cream while in the place of battle. The commander and the soldiers were looking for a Robotnik, but they couldn't find it, and it disappeared completely, and it stops and is buried, and we see that stone is hiding among the soldiers, and this agent says to the commander, "We found a file hidden for 50 years in our database, and this file contains the coordinates of a secret research facility, and someone was hiding this facility very carefully. And inside there was a Shadow, and he was sleeping in deep stability, but suddenly he wakes up in Shadow." This is what we will see in the 3rd part, hopefully, and you will find it on the channel when it is available. Don't forget to press like and help us get this episode to 100,000 likes. And who reached the end of the episode, I want you to put the jewel emoji in the comments to know who liked the episode. Bye bye. Bye bye.